Hello, welcome to another vegan Mundi cooking class. My name is Felipe, and in this video, we'll learn how to make coxinha. If you are watching this class, there's a high probability that you know what coxinha is, but if you don't know, it is the most traditional Brazilian snack, together with another cheese puff called pão de queijo. You can browse for the recipe in Vegan Mundi's site if you want to, but let's talk about coxinha. It is a kind of croquette, a dough made out of potato and flour, filled originally with chicken, shredded chicken. And that's how it's called coxinha, because coxa in Portuguese means thigh, but it's the thigh of the chicken leg, and coxinha, little thigh. So it's a little chicken leg, and it has that shape of a chicken leg. And in our recipe, we will replace the shredded chicken by 3 different fillings. We will make shiitake mushroom filling, we'll make a ground beef filling, and we will season the ground beef in a way that it will really taste like meat. And we will also make a filling with hearts of palm. Just for you to learn a little bit more about how traditional coxinha is in Brazil, how do they eat there? They eat it any time in the day. Some people have it at breakfast. Just like in the US, we stop for some coffee, maybe some donuts, maybe a croissant, sandwich. Some people, they just eat a coxinha, but it's very traditional as a snack. Midday, after lunch, and in between dinner, they leave the office, they go eat a coxinha, and then come back. And also at night, after partying, like we would eat a slice of pizza in the US, they go for a coxinha. And also in gas stations, when we stop for a little snack, they always sell coxinha. So you will learn how to make your vegan coxinha. So let's get our hands dirty and make our coxinhas. We'll start by making the shiitake mushroom filling. Then we'll make the dough. We will assemble the coxinha. We will fill the dough with the filling. We'll give shape to the coxinha. We'll bread it in breadcrumbs, and then we will deep fry it, because that's how the traditional coxinha is made. If you want to bake it, you can. It won't taste as good as the fried one. It'll be healthier, but not as tasty. And you have something in between. You can use an air fryer. It is good, but still the fried one will always be more flavorful. So let's go. We can use either fresh shiitake mushrooms or we can use dried mushrooms. In both cases, we will saute them in sesame oil. I always use sesame oil when I want to saute mushrooms. It's a very nice combination. To me, it's better than any other oil because it's way more flavorful than all the other ones when combined with mushrooms, right? So in this case, I will use the dried ones because I want to show you something that you need to do with them in case you decide to use dried mushrooms. You need to prep them. You need to hydrate them. You put them in warm water. It cannot be hot. It has to be warm. And you let them rest for 10-15 minutes. And after that, we will drain them a little bit and then we will saute them. After 10 minutes, we remove the mushrooms from the water and we need to squeeze them to drain them a little bit because there will be water coming out of it. So you squeeze all of them and then we will dice it. You can use any oil you like for sauteing the mushrooms. I do recommend using sesame oil though for 2 reasons. First one, because it goes really well with mushrooms in terms of flavor. And second, because it is healthier than regular oils when it comes to cooking it, heating it. Even healthier than olive oil. And that's because all the oils, when you heat them, you change the configuration of the oil, and then it is not that healthy anymore. And that happens to any oil that you heat, but some of them they have a higher tolerance to heat, which is the case of sesame oil. So you can safely use it for cooking and it will still have the same properties as if it was not heated. Peanut oil is also like that, avocado oil, sunflower oil. You can use them if you're thinking of healthiness, but again, sesame oil goes really well with mushrooms. And what I like doing whenever I saute mushrooms, I almost overcook them. Of course, I won't let them burn, but I cook them a little longer than most of people would do it because I want them to be kind of crispy. So I think 7 minutes is good here. That's how much you want to cook your mushrooms. You can see that they are brownish, crispy. And of course, I always add black pepper to them. And remember, always freshly ground. The flavor and the smell is different when it's freshly ground. And towards the end, I will add some soy sauce. Cook it for 1 minute. It's just for the mushroom to absorb the savory flavor of the soy sauce. And I'm not adding salt because the soy sauce is already salted. If you think it's not salty enough, you can always adjust and add some salt. And in the very end, green onions. They also give a nice flavor to the mushrooms. You don't need to cook them. You just whisk everything. And then your mushroom filling is ready. Let's now make the dough. And I hope you didn't go to the gym today because you will exercise your triceps. It is a little bit tiring. It requires some patience. But yeah, you start by mashing the potatoes with a fork. And these potatoes, I cooked them in the vegetable broth so they can absorb a little bit of flavor. And the same broth that we use for cooking it will be used here for making the dough as well. Of course, I used more broth than the required for the dough because for cooking the potato you need to cover it in water, but you just use the amount needed for this recipe here. Okay, then I'm turning the stove on. Medium high. You don't need it super hot. And then we will add the ingredients and knead the dough as we cook it. The vegetable broth, olive oil, and the flour. And I'm not adding salt because the vegetable broth is already salty. You whisk it until it gets more homogeneous. Then when you have this doughy consistency appearance, you spread it a little bit just for it to cook a bit. And then you will be kneading it as you cook it. You need to keep flipping it. You see that it's cooking on the other side. So you want to be flipping it, pushing it against the pan, massaging it. It is a process that will take 7 minutes, maybe a little longer. Be patient and get your triceps workout done. Press it, flip all the sides for it to cook evenly. And you might not be trusting that it will become a real dough, but it will, okay? Be persistent and keep doing it. Trust me. So our dough is ready. to receive a little bit more love from us, because we will need to manually knead her for 30 seconds to 1 minute. So now we let it cool down outside the pan, and then we will knead it. But you see, it's not sticky anymore. Might be just a little bit, but it's okay, because when we assemble our coxinhas, we can always add some more flour. We are almost there. Uh, we'll be assembling our coxinhas in no time, and you see how your effort paid in the end. So this is actually a motivational video. These guys in a cooking class. Let's knead the dough for 30 seconds to 1 minute. It might stick a little bit, but that's fine. You will see in a few seconds how to solve this. If you want, you can put some flour in your hands, some oil. If your dough is not sticking, then you don't use anything. You will get this amount of dough. You make a little ball, then you make it flat, and you make a little bed like this, where you will put your mushrooms, a handful of mushrooms. I'm always tempted to put a lot of mushrooms, but if you put too much, you cannot close the coxinha, right? So I think this is enough. And then you just close it like this. That's it. Done. You want it to have this shape. This is how a coxinha should look like, because it's mimicking the chicken type. One thing that can happen when you are assembling your coxinha is that it can kind of crack, so you will see the filling coming out of it. If that happens, it's because the dough is sticking in your hand, so you need a little bit more flour. Now we will bread the coxinha with breadcrumbs, and then you will deep fry it. For the breading, you just need a container with water and some breadcrumbs. This will get the job done. Simply dip your coxinha in the water and bread it. That's it. Your coxinha is ready to be fried. Before we start deep frying our coxinha, let me tell you a couple things about the oil. First of all, you see that it is a lot of oil. That's because you're deep frying the coxinha, so you need a lot of oil around the coxinha. But that's fine, because with this oil, you can fry all your coxinhas that you will assemble with the dough that we made. And I'm using sunflower oil because, as the sesame oil, sunflower oil also has high heat tolerance, so it's healthier than regular vegetable oil or even olive oil, because of the reasons that I already explained to you. And also, you want the oil to already be hot when you start frying your coxinha, because if it is not hot, the coxinha will absorb a lot of oil and it will be super greasy. It won't be that nice. I will put the coxinha in this slotted spoon, but if you don't have it, you can just throw it in there and use a regular tongue. And actually, before I do that, I want to tell you one little story, just for fun. My grandma used to use a trick to know if the oil was hot enough. She used to throw a match inside the oil and wait for the match to catch on fire, so she would know that that was the right point of the oil. But you can try it if you want, just for the fun of it, but I don't think you will have matches at home, but yeah. And this is a quick process. You gotta be careful for you not to burn your coxinha. 1 to 2 minutes. Congratulations, you just made your first coxinha, and that's how you want it to be. That's how much you want to cook it. You see, crispy, golden brown. But before you eat it, there is one last thing that we need to do. We want to remove a little bit of this excessive oil using some paper towel. Fold the 2 segments of towel paper in half, put it in your container, add your coxinha there, wrap it a little bit to suck some oil, and then you're ready to eat your coxinha. Uh, People enjoy it with hot sauce, ketchup, or mustard. I like mine with mustard. So that's how it should look inside your mushroom coxinha. Now, let's make different fillings, and then you can pick your favorite. For making the ground beef, we will use textured soy protein, TVP, also known as textured vegetable protein, TVP. It's this grains here made out of soy flour. It contains a lot of protein, and this is the one that I use. So the texture soy protein has no taste at all. It kind of looks like dog food, right? So before really using it, we need to prep it. We need to hydrate it because it's hard, right? You need to soften it. And some people just add water and that's it. But then it has no flavor, right? So the way I do it, I add liquid smoke. And I need to tell you guys about liquid smoke. It is exactly what the name suggests. It is a smoke that is converted into liquid. So let me explain to you how it is produced. Imagine how bacon is made. There is a piece of meat hanging from the ceiling. There is some wood on fire underneath it. So the smoke comes from beneath and wraps the smoke, giving it its smoky flavor. And the liquid smoke is the same concept. You have the wood on fire. Usually they use hickory. I think that's how they pronounce it. And there are other types of wood that you can use as well. But, well, anyway, you set it on fire, the smoke will come up, but of course there is no piece of meat hanging in the ceiling. Instead of that, there is a glass tube, just like in a lab. The smoke will come inside the tube, but then they decrease the temperature inside the tube. It is cold inside, so that it will condensate the smoke and it will become liquid. And then they put it in a bottle. And it gives such a nice flavor to your vegan ingredients. It really tastes like meat. And then I'll add soy sauce. It will make it salty. And you want to cover it with water because you marinate it. So you just add some water. And the bad news is that you need to marinate it overnight in the fridge. If you are tempted to just use it right now, I don't recommend, because again, your soy will have no flavor, so be patient, okay? Let it marinate overnight in the fridge, and then after that, we will saute the ground beef. Let's now saute our ground beef the same way we would do with a regular ground beef. I like using onions and garlic. So we always saute the onions first until they are transparent, and then we add the salt and saute just for a little bit because the garlic can burn way faster than the onions. So that's the order. Now that the onions are transparent and kind of golden brown, we add the garlic, and we'll cook the garlic just for less than a minute, maybe a minute, and don't use high heat, otherwise it will burn. We can now add our ground beef, and you see how it looks like ground beef. And I have two little secrets for ground beef. Olives. I love olives. And these little red things are peppers because I'm using the pepper stuffed olives. It's funny. A little story for you guys. When I was in Greece, I was eating olives all the time. I would just go to a supermarket, buy those juicy calamara olives, and I'll be eating at the beach. And most of the people, when they go to Greece, they post pictures on social media, uh, in like fancy resorts, on those infinite pools, on the top of the islands. And I was just posting pictures of olives. So I love them. Um, and one more little secret is cumin. Cumin goes really well with meat in general. You just gotta be really careful because it's super strong. You don't want to add too much. And another funny story, in one of my cooking classes, this lady, she ate the ground beef with cumin, and she said that it tasted like tacos. I think it activated her affective memory. It's now time for us to make our third and last coxinha filling. Don't be sad that the class is almost over. There are so many other classes in the Vegan Mundi's site. You can always watch the other classes. So as usual, you will saute the onions in oil. You can use olive oil for flavor. It's really nice, flavorful. Or, as I always tell you, you can use some sunflower oil if you want a healthier option. And after the onions get transparent and a little bit golden brown, as usual, we will saute the garlic. The hearts of palm, smoked paprika, salt, tomato paste, and cilantro. If you don't like it, skip it. You can always add your freshly ground black pepper, and that's it. You cook it only for 3 minutes, and you want to make sure that you combine all the ingredients really well, and you have your flavorful coxinha filling. I hope you enjoy it.